Okay, last but not least, with this pandemic situation, many different opportunities will present itself for the Knicks to grab some guys that normally would have never hit the market, but end up being on the market because of the new salary cap conditions heading into next season. As it's looking like there's not going to be fans in the stands, which is going to equate to 40% less revenue. So the players and the owners are going to have to come back to the table and rework that CBA. The 50-50 splits, what's a max deal, what's a rookie max extension, etc. All these things have to be reworked because the fan revenue is going to have to be subtracted from that number. This presents a new dynamic for players that are going to be eligible for contract renewals, especially heading into next season with the salary cap predicted to be a lot lower. You look at Giannis's deal. Is he going to re-up under the new max contract conditions? Most likely no. If he does re-up with the Bucks, it might be on a short end of a deal, or it might be just for 1 year. And him being on that short-term deal opens up the possibility of him leaving the Bucks, especially if they don't achieve any type of championship aspirations in that small time frame. So the Bucks here may have had the rug pulled from underneath them because one of their main tools of leverage was to give Giannis a super max extension. And now with the CBA being reworked, that super max extension could look like a lot less money. So my fellow Knicks fans, pay very close attention to see how that situation plays out. Next is Victor Oladipo, and he's looking for a super max deal in 2021. Now he is coming off an injury, and as we all know, the Indiana Pacers are already a cheap team. As we've seen this week alone, Paul George admitted why he left Indiana is because they didn't want to spend the money to get Blake Griffin. And it seems like they're already starting to give Victor Oladipo the runaround of why they can't give him an extension. Now, Victor Oladipo still has to prove that he can return back to his original form even after that injury. But with the salary cap being lowered, and the reputation that the Indiana Pacers owner has for not spending money, Larry Bird grew frustrated with this. As we've seen this week alone, Paul George is another person to mention this. This is an owner that has a long history of just being cheap. So with the salary cap going down, does he even have an intention of giving Victor Oladipo even a max contract under the new terms? And then heading into the bubble, Victor Oladipo before that was coming back into season shape. He had one of his better games before the season abruptly ended. Will the Pacers even let him come back into the bubble and play as hard as he could to prove to them that he can get that next deal? So my fellow Knicks fans, pay very close attention to how the Indiana Pacers play Victor Oladipo in this bubble. Are they going to let him return to playing over 30 to 35 minutes a game? How do they monitor him? Because I would not be surprised if they play him less minutes, make up excuses. That way they don't have to give him new deal in 2021. They can actually lowball him. Don't be surprised about that. So he may end up hitting the trade market next season on an expiring contract after getting frustrated with Indiana, and the Pacers may dump him off to a contending team just to get some assets off. And you never know, that contending team may just let him go into free agency afterwards. So he may be on the open market for a reasonable price. So keep a close eye on Victor Oladipo. Now, another player on my list was Trey Young, but not anymore. He recently signed with Rich Paul and Clutch Sports. So the likeliness of him being on a Knicks CAA team is very unlikely. But then again, Rich Paul, he does love the large contracts. But Trey Young in the past has voiced his frustrations with all the losing while being on the Hawks. And you never know, he may be looking for a way out. Now the Atlanta Hawks do have a team option on Trey Young until 2022. But after that, unless he goes for an extension, he's no longer obligated to be on the Hawks. So that could be another opportunity there. But then again, like I said recently, with him signing into Clutch Sports, I'm not sure if going into a CAA affiliated team is going to be the move that Rich Paul is going to make for Trey Young. But we'll see how that plays out. Now, a more likely scenario is to watch out for the Ben Simmons and Embiid fallout. Now, before the season abruptly ended, Ben Simmons did have an injury where he was supposed to return near the playoffs, and Embiid basically had to carry the team. Now, they have gone through their ups and downs this season. It looks like Al Horford is not really a good fit. Jimmy Butler, this past offseason, he got on JJ Redick's podcast, and he talked about how there was no real honesty within the 76ers organization. It's almost like the coach was scared to call out players, and that they didn't really have an opportunity to win because guys didn't want to get called out. So he said that there was barely any room for improvement. Now, Embiid and Simmons, people will be questioning if this is an actual good fit. These guys are sometimes in each other's way. But heading into the bubble, they basically have no excuses. They had plenty of time off. Simmons is healthy. They need to go make their run. The 76ers are pretty much cap strapped. They signed a lot of guys, Horford, Tobias Harris. They're pretty much locked in. Everyone has guaranteed contracts for 4 to 5 years. There should be no excuses. The 76ers should be one of the top contending teams. Now, Embiid may grow frustrated with Simmons and vice versa. So this may be an opportunity for the Knicks to get a trade-off to either get Embiid or Simmons. If I was to take a guess, I would say Philadelphia may stick with Simmons and let Embiid go because, you know, he's an injury risk. Sometimes he's out of shape. But Embiid has a lot of ambitions to be a star and a regular season MVP. So hopefully he can take things more serious. And it could be an opportunity for us to get a guy like Embiid. When he's locked in and in game shape, he is a game changer for sure. So my fellow Knicks fans, pay very close attention to the 76ers, especially in that bubble, as they are definitely on the clock. Their management has spent a lot of money in the offseason. There's a lot of guaranteed contracts out there. And they have guys like Josh Richardson on a very cheap contract, I believe 2 more years. And Al Horford, he's getting older. So they are definitely on the clock. Ben Simmons and Embiid, they got to make it happen now. Now, another duo to pay attention to for maybe a possible fallout is the Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert situation. Now, we all know how Gobert contracted COVID. People were spreading rumors that he possibly gave it to Mitchell, but Mitchell could have got it from anywhere. But it'd be very interesting to see heading back into the bubble how this affects their relationship and their chemistry. Now, Rudy Gobert will be a free agent in 2021. He's been a top defensive player for years, and he is definitely a game changer defensively, especially on the boards. That same summer, Mitchell Robinson will also be a restricted free agent for the Knicks, but the Knicks will be able to match offers that he gets. So just in case we don't actually get to match an offer that Mitchell Robinson gets, it's possible that we can actually go after Gobert or even possibly Donovan Mitchell. Even though Mitchell is locked in for 2022, he may not want to play for Utah anymore, and they may actually trade him a year ahead to get some assets. Especially with the cap coming down, you don't know how financially it affects some of these teams, especially some of these small market teams. And just looking at the amount of salary that Utah is committed to, especially with Mike Conley, they may actually try to get rid of guys like Rudy Gobert, or should I say in the French way, Gobert, and even other guys on the team just to get rid of some salary due to the fact that the salary cap will go down next season. So this may end up frustrating Donovan Mitchell because his team is getting worse and he's already in a small market. So you never know, he may want to go elsewhere. Now, moving on to the 2020 free agent list, there are a number of players that could fill up some of the roster holes that we have currently. And especially at point guard, we have Fred VanVleet. He's having a breakout season in Toronto. If you guys haven't checked out Toronto this season, they had a bunch of injuries in almost every single position. Now, a lot of players, especially like Fred VanVleet, with the finals experience and last year's playoff run, which is perhaps one of the greatest playoff runs by a team, low-key. They beat the 76ers, the Bucks, and they beat the Golden State Warriors. These guys are not afraid of the big moment. He is a restricted free agent, and he will be 26 by the time he hits the market. So if we can give him a good offer, maybe Toronto's not going to match. This is a great player to look at for the Knicks. He plays a very team-oriented game, offensively and defensively. And quiet as kept, even though he's a point guard, he could fulfill the shooting guard position very easily. He offers a lot of flexibility, and one of Toronto's more successful lineups this season has been putting Kyle Lowry at point guard and Fred VanVleet at shooting guard. Now, the final 3 players I'm gonna name here could actually help us stretch the floor a little bit and bring some more consistent shooting from 3. Number 1, Davis Bertons. He's going to be very sought after. He had an excellent season shooting this year for the Wizards. He'll be 28, unrestricted free agent, and he's definitely a player to look out for. Number 2, Joe Harris out of Brooklyn, former three-point shooting champion. In 2019, he shot 47% from 3 for the whole season in over 70 games. He'll be 29. This will also be another player at small forward, just like Bertons. And these are definitely guys that can help us stretch out the floor. And number 3, out of Sacramento, Bogdanovic. Now, the only reason I believe he will be able to hit the free agency market with ease is because the Sacramento Kings had committed too much salary already to players like Harrison Barnes, Buddy Hield. They still got to pay De'Aaron Fox, Marvin Bagley. They're just too over leveraged with salary right now. And I believe they're going to end up losing Bogdan. Even though he's a restricted free agent and they'll have the ability to match, they probably won't end up matching because they don't have the salary cap to match, because they still have to sign some of their other younger players. And especially with the salary cap going down, it's not going to help them out at all. So Brogdon, he really shouldn't be on the free agent list, but he really is just an unrestricted free agent when you think about it. Because like I said, Sacramento is really cap strapped. Brogdon is a very good three-point shooter, and he's another player that's going to be very sought after. So very poor mismanagement by the Sacramento Kings. They paid Buddy Hield a lot of money just to realize that he's more effective coming off the bench. And guys like Brogdon, they should have definitely read up on his contract, but now they can't because they're cash strapped. But it is what it is. Like I said, with the incoming salary cap changes, and when you add that in with certain nuances with players and certain teams, there's a lot of potential for the Knicks to grab up some players here. But until next time, you guys stay safe. And don't forget to check out my other channel, Orange Cookies, for around the NBA coverage and talk a lot about what's going on within this bubble and some of the nuances that are taking place there. But until next time, you guys stay safe. Peace.